Evening. Okay, here I am from the backyard in my rental house. And it's a beautiful morning, October 12th, 2020. So I just want to share some thoughts about the Philippines, some experience that I had here. And just we can just start with last night. Last night there came some heavy rain and lightning over Mindanao. I read it on the internet that there is some low pressure area coming in from the Pacific and it's gonna hit parts of Mindanao, etc. And I thought, okay, it doesn't look like it's gonna rain here, but we have this hen, a mother hen with two small chicks, and she loved to hide under some table we have here in the backyard. Now the problem, I know she don't know, is that this backyard, if it's heavy rain, it's gonna be flooded, and the neighbors behind they don't allow the owner to. They actually blocked the drainage that they have because the neighbors also don't want to have a lot of flood water coming into their garden. So what basically happens is that it's becoming like a small lake in our backyard, and exactly where that hen was with the small chicks. 6:30 p.m. My wife was outside doing some shopping in the local community here, and I was alone with the ding dong, Mr. David Ben, our little boy who was approximately 2 years and 8 months. Some customer came and made an order of pizza. We have a pizza stove here, and our neighbor he wanted to order a pizza. And just at that moment when he ordered, I told him I don't know if we can make it because my wife is outside. I'm alone with a boy here, but we'll see. And then exactly when he left, the rain started pounding down like really tropical stuff. And the first thing I was thinking about was those small chicks because I know probably she is laying under that in that corner under that old kitchen table there. And but I had the boy. Okay, so I gave him some very big, two big red leather gloves that I just purchased to handle the hot pizza. And I left him for just a few moments, and I left the door open. He was inside the bedroom, but the doors were open. So yes, I grabbed a a big plastic container like this size. Put some plastic bags on the bottom to make it like more cozy. And then I went to try and check out the chick, and yes, she was there with the chicks. But there is a small cement barrier before the water will come under that cemented table. So I said, okay, I'll just put the plastic container beside her, and maybe she's able. Of course, she would be able to get in there because she's a grown-up hen. But the problem is the small chicks. But since the water level was not really dramatic yet, I just left the plastic jar there, and then I ran over to the pizza stove, which is just here in the background, and uh, it was really pounding down the rain. And oh, no matches, and how can I make a fire here? And then I ran into the house. The boy was still there. He was okay. He was not doing anything bad. He was playing with those red leather gloves. So I found some matches, and then I got some paper from our printer. I just grabbed some printer paper because I need to fire up the wood fire, quickly. And then I put some cooking oil, coconut oil, actually, over the wood, and I made a fire while the rain was really. It was crazy. And then I came, I turned my back to go into the room, and I mean it's like really showering, and we have this water collection system that will take the water coming from the roof out into the canal outside the house. But that is when it's raining that hard, it's gonna overflow. So it was a shower, and there the ding dong, he stood there with his two big leather gloves, showering. So happy, so happy. It's the first time in his life that he because his mother is really taking care of him, so he's not allowed to do anything. He cannot go outside. He cannot do this. He cannot do that. When I was his age, I was living in a village in Cameroon, in the village called Mbe in North Cameroon, and we were out playing. I was crawling in the red mud there, and yeah, it was a totally different world. But here, she's so worried about him that he is never allowed to do anything. So he was standing there with his t-shirt and his shorts and his diapers and the hands up in the air and wow, like very ecstatic. So I took him, I lifted him up, but he was no, he didn't want to go inside. But of course, he can easily get pneumonia, or he was admitted for pneumonia back in June. Uh, but that is how you build resistance, also by exposing yourself as a kid to different problems, right, or different elements. If you are overprotected, that will make you weak. Anyway, I took him inside the house, and then came my wife, and she was furious. What? You didn't look after him? And I said, hey, I, I was, I checked up on him every two couple of minutes, but then he got there in the rain. So for him, must have been a fantastic experience. But his mother was furious at me, of course. So anyway, she took care of him, changed his clothes, and gave him some dry clothing, and then I said, I have but then I had to attend again to the fire because we need the fire of our pizza stove, big pizza stove. So I attended to the fire, and it kept going, growing. So I said, okay, that's good. Then I went into the house and I told my wife, we have an order for pizza, but and she said, oh, we cannot make that in this rain. I said, I'll try. I already have the fire going. But I said, the small chicks, you, they are in the back. You are there, and she said, yeah. Oh, and she opened the back door, and the backyard was already frozen. I mean, we're talking about 10 minutes since I attended to those chicks before. Uh, and there was no rain in that under that table. And when she went out there and she had to go through the water was already like at least 15 centimeter high. And the hen, she was one place, and the chicks, they were standing on some wooden, some wooden logs there, but they were already wet, all of them, the mother and the chicks. They were about to drown. Oh man, it came so quickly, with this kind of rain, and it's just coming. Wow, like you cannot imagine this kind of tropical rain. It's really crazy. And that plastic jar, the big plastic jar that I had put under there, it was flowing in the backyard, far away from the. And so we grabbed them. I got that plastic jar, and my wife took some rug we have made of for the feet, to wipe off. We call it trapo here in this part of the world. And she put that in the bottom of that one, and then we cooperated, of course, because the mother is aggressive and you don't want to be bitten. So I put on some gloves and I catch the big hen, and my wife, she caught the two chicks, and they were so wet. Wow, what we gonna do? And we were afraid they're gonna die. But then I had this bright idea. We put them beside the pizza stove, and that's what we did. So because it's really hot there, and so they were getting dry quickly and enjoying staying beside the pizza stove. Uh, and so we were actually able to cook the pizza. I mean, we have a new. You see, there is a roofing here. This is quite new because that is how what happens in the Philippines. Many times we have plans to have a pizza party or whatever, and we make the dough, we make everything, and when we want to cook, the rain is pouring. So of course, everything is flooding, and the only place that is under control is the pizza stove itself. But there is some water dripping through some hole, even because I don't know. These guys, they are not experts, so they put some nail with they call it, I don't think call it like umbrella, but they have done some obviously some mistake. So the water was dripping through there, and I had bought the big not the big like a 5 liter water gardening water garden watering device, you know, the one watering the plants. And I put it there on top of the firewood, and I'll tell you, just 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, that 5 liter was catching only the dripping from that small hole in the roof. It was half full after just 25 minutes, something like that. So, so that's life here in the Philippines, you know. And of course, there was a matchbox there. The guys left it empty. You see, there's a matchbox. Okay, that's fine, but empty. Okay, so if it's empty, why the fuck don't you go and get another one? Because we are actually doing business there. We are cooking pizza all the time. Why don't you go and get a new one? No, no, no. And we have toilet paper holder in the CR. Can you imagine? When there is no more paper, the last user, ah, fuck it, there is no more paper. But we have toilet paper just outside the toilet. There is toilet paper. Oh, no. I don't care about that, you know. In my opinion, if you are the one to finish the matches, you replace the matches. If you are the one to finish the toilet paper, you replace the toilet paper. That is just ordinary behavior. Um, so it's like I get some a bit irritated about that kind of things. And if there is no cooking oil, they don't tell until the last drop is gone. I said, why didn't you tell me when I was out shopping half an hour ago? I could have bought more cooking oil. And they buy the cooking oil in the small, very small plastic bags. I said, why do we do that? We're always running out of cooking oil. Why don't we buy? So I buy a liter, 1 liter, 2 liter, you know, and still they don't tell me that, oh, we have only 1 deciliter left. No, they never tell me. So we are always running out of cooking, but now on a not so frequent scale. Anyway, this we are renting a house with a. Uh, it's not a garden because outside here it's all cemented. But I like to have a garden. So if you know, I notice you know my videos here. You can see we make some plants here, raised beds, and I have plants all over the place. Um, because of course when you live in a tropical climate like this, it is very amazing to grow vegetables and fruits and herbs, right? We tried with tomatoes, but actually the tomatoes they cannot handle the climate right here. So and some of the herbs they didn't grow well. It can be really hot here, you know. I tried to put the stuff in the shadow, but the cats, like last night, the cat has been taking down a very big cactus. Oh yeah. And a couple of days ago, the cat took out some very big aloe vera. Just it's right over here. I'm just looking at it, and the big nice cactus is broken into one, two, three pieces, and the mud from that pot was just all over my toolbox, which one of the guys left the lid half open. But luckily I saw it, so I closed it. If not, all my toolbox would be flooded with mud and water. So it is about, you know, I like to say you have to when you are living here and not in a condo, but you're living in a house, you have to cope with different things. So I have a shovel. Maybe you can see there. You know, I have a shovel. I have stuff for cleaning up. I have so many tools. You know, uh, because in the first period when I was living here in Mindanao, I stayed in the village, and nobody in the village had a boring machine. Nobody had an angle grinder, at least not among the people I knew there. Uh, Basically, almost nobody had even a hammer. Only the carpenter would have some hammer, some very lousy soap. So when you are living here, you need to take care of things. If you are living in a condo, that's up to you. You don't need to take care of so much, yeah. But living in condo, it can be quite boring, I would say. We have some friends. She is Filipino and the husband is from Japan. He has a good income, so he actually bought uh, a condo, five or more than 5 million pesos. He bought it brand new in what's it called, Denton Park or something like that in Davao. And then 1 year ago, we had some big earthquakes coming. I think it was October 19th, the first earthquake. And before they lived in another place, I don't remember the name of that place, but then I saw in the news that after these first two, they were basically more than three earthquakes. But you had on the October 19th, there was this powerful earthquake, and then I think it was, I'm not sure now, but anyway, I know for a fact that on the October 30 or 31, it was two big earthquakes. And it basically destroyed so many buildings, both here in Digos, but those condos were destroyed. I mean, you couldn't live there. And so the city government in Davao, they ordered them to be closed down. Ooh, there was some insects found in the Philippines, right in my eyes, some kind of wasp or something. I don't know. Never saw that one before, but luckily I still have my eyesight intact. So that those condos were condemned. Like people had to flee from them. They were not allowed to go into their own homes, and that is good because the last, I mean, in October 30 or 31, there were actually two big earthquakes. There was a half an hour between them, and then even the condo of our friends, that couple, he's from Japan, she's from this area, um, and they stayed on the top floor. So things were start cracking, falling down. I mean, a lot of stuff, and they just had to escape the place. And they were waiting for many months, and nothing was rebuilt, nothing was fixed. Finally, they were after a long, long time, after many, many months, they were able to get the money back from the company that made those constructions, and now they have a house. They live in a house. So living in a condo is not necessarily a very good thing. Also, this old house that I am living in here, you can see it probably in other videos. It's not made of hollow blocks, which is very rare because most of the buildings here in the Philippines are made of hollow blocks, and the quality is shit. To be, I mean, you try to pick up the hollow block just to move it from the truck and or whatever into the construction site, and many of them they're just gonna fall apart. Um, so and they are very tiny, like 4 inches, something like that. Very tiny hollow blocks. Oh my god! And I read actually in the newspaper something citing about the building code in the Philippines. If you are going to build a house of a certain size for like a villa or like that, you have to use specific. It says specifically so and so big. I think it's 6 inches hollow blocks, and the iron that you use to stabilize, yeah, they call it rebar, has to be so and so many millimeters. So there is actually a building code in the Philippines, but usually they don't follow the building code. But luckily, our owner here, the owner of this house, she's now the owner, but she's not the one who built it. I suppose the house is very old. Um, they actually built this place with concrete. So wow, that is a totally different story. So even if we had these huge earthquakes, I mean, and we were here, it's terrible, and almost all, I think 60%, 65% of the buildings in this city were damaged by the earthquake. Our neighbors, they didn't dare to sleep inside their house. They put up some tent and they slept outside. There was a open, there's an empty house in front of them, and there was a field there. They just put up some tarpaulin and some, and they don't dare to sleep inside the house. So you see, this to live in the Philippines is quite challenging, and of course, the last big earthquake we had, uh, I mean, significantly big. That was on December 15, I think, or 16. It was on a Sunday, Me and my wife, we were inside the G mall. We just entered the G mall, and then we saw, wow, there's a lot of people in there. You know, the G mall is the best mall here in Digos. And I said, oh my God, why, why are we gonna go inside there and then we're gonna stand for 40 minutes, you know, in line just to pay our stuff? So I said, what we gonna buy here? Let's just go to the public market instead. And she agreed. So we didn't go inside too much. We were very close to the exit. We were on our way out, leaving the mall, and then, you know, and things were falling down, you know. Oh my God. And I grabbed my wife. We just stayed close to a pillar, a big pillar. And this is, like I said, on the very close to the exit. And people screaming and shouting, you know. And it was really, I think it was almost 7 on the Richter scale. It was 6.9, I think, the earthquake. Now, I don't care so much about the strength as I care about the duration also, because the duration is very critical. How long does it last, the earthquake? So, luckily, it didn't last too much, but so we were able to, but people were really, I mean, running for the exits. And what I want to say is when the earthquake hits, you must not run. That is when you're gonna get hurt, and you must not run through the exit because things may fall, and it did. You know, the big logo, a big heavy logo for the Gmol, made of solid concrete with rebars that probably weighs hundreds of kilos, had fallen from the top of the building and down just above the exit. There was a proper steel roof there for giving shadow, and you know, so if it's raining, you can stand under there waiting for a tricycle to take you home, stuff like that. So but it went almost through that roofing also. So really, uh, it's very dangerous. When the earthquake hits, you must be prepared, right? So and if it hits at night, I mean, usually when it hits, it will be the electricity will be gone, and so you need always to have a torch around you. You know. Anyway, we were able to get out, but it was we really had to almost like fight our way out because the guys were just like, ooh, you know. But so we were lucky. We were one of the first to get out after the quick stop. I didn't want to run when it was going on, and people were fainting, and it was, and I wanted to film the incident, but there was something wrong with my phone. I couldn't film. I had to restart it, and when I restarted, it's already over the earthquake. Um, and our boy was in the house with the niece, Ang Ang, the niece of Jalin. So we took off and went home as fast as possible. And the house here is very strong and solid. So, but the guys here they were afraid. So of course our boy was afraid also. Um, but luckily there was no damage done. So we went back because I wanted to film. So I have actually filmed a little bit, but it is terrible. You know, you don't want. I feel like I'm shy because all the people here they were suffering, and the hospitals they took the sick people outside of the hospital. They didn't dare to go inside the hospital. uh, Parked motorcycles were just collapsing on the sidewalk, the ground. I saw a tricycle. This was after the first earthquake. A tricycle totally, I mean, with a metal roof and metal, but it was totally crushed because something fell down from a building and just crushed it. I just hope the driver was not inside it. I don't know the story. This is another thing here in Digos. It's the news, local news. Uh, there is no, as far as I know, there is no local newspaper, and this is a city with 165, 170,000 people, and it's quite strange. There is really not good news. I mean, decent newspaper, and even if you go online, there is really not. You have to browse through a lot of stuff, use Google, and then suddenly you find out that 2 days ago some guy was executed 300 meters from where you live, and stuff like that, you know. But and with this all this curfew shit, suddenly somebody said, "Oh, there was a liquor ban." A liquor ban. Oh, why didn't they tell us the day before so we could get some liquor? you know. And even you don't. My friend in Francois in Mindanao, in Davao City, he lives there. He didn't have access to internet at the time because he couldn't pay his bill because the office was closed, so he couldn't pay the bill, and so Smart cut off his internet connection. So and he don't have a TV. He don't understand the local language, so he didn't listen to any radio or stuff like that. And they had a quarantine pass, and suddenly they changed the rules. So with his kind of quarantine pass, he would be allowed to go out on only this day and that day. And he didn't know that because the neighbors has left the area there, and he didn't know. So he went out with his motorcycle doing some shopping, whatever, and the police caught him, and he had a trial now. Just recently, he had to wait for 5 or 6 months to get the trial. And he had to pay a fine of 20,000 pesos because he has white skin, of course. And he was, but I will say the police here in Digos uh, are very courteous to me, very friendly. But they sent in. You must know here in the Philippines there is a lot of guns, even a Jollibee or something like that. They might have a security guard with a revolver or even with a shotgun. So so that's the reality of it. It's like the wild east, like wild, not wild west, but wild east. And of course, there are rebels, and that is also what I sometimes I read in the news, and I find out. Oh, we were just there in Bansalan it's called, and we went off the Bansalan. We went a little bit more westwards to looking for some goats because there is a Baptist missionary organization that built up agriculture center there. So this was like exactly 1 year ago. We went there, and but the guy he wanted a fortune for the goats. I said, no, we're not gonna pay that money for goats, and you had to buy a package deal with one male and 5 or 6 females. Oh, it's gonna cost 200,000 pesos. Oh, no, oh, no, that's not what I was looking for. So anyway, then and the guy who showed us around there, he's not the one who's running the Baptist farm, but he has a farm. Just he's the neighbor, so he has goats and sheep from them there. And he said, "Oh, you're not afraid of the terrorists?" Oh, I said, "I'm a terrorist in this area." He said, "Yeah, yeah, they're just in the forest." And then I read some time later that they actually had executed or arrested and executed some terrorists right in that area. So, and that is just if we drove with a tricycle and we drove slowly because it's the first time we were going there, so we didn't know how to find the place. We took a while before we could find the place, but that is just like if I took off with my motorcycle, it would be just half an hour driving from our house, and there you have the NPA terrorists lurking in the woods. Even up here in Kapatagan, in Mount Apo area, there are NPA soldiers. I visited some guy there, and I went into a room because he had some rooms. I wanted to rent the room, maybe, but price was not good for me. And when I opened one of the rooms, there were machine guns in that room. I said, "Wow, what is that for?" I said, "Yeah, there are terrorists there, so I need to protect my property." So that's how it is. This is a developing nation, but it's very interesting. If you go to Singapore, I have been to Singapore on multiple occasions. Singapore is probably the most developed. You might call it a country. It's just an island, but okay, it's an island nation. It's probably the most developed nation on the face of the earth. I think chewing gum is banned there. At least if you throw chewing gum on the sidewalk, you will feel sorry for that one if the police catch you. So Singapore is an extremely organized society. rentals are sky high. Uh, Also, and cars are basically so expensive. You have to pay so a crazy amount of money each year, like a yearly tax, just to be able to use a car in Singapore. So you would rather take a taxi, you know. But they have a very nice system there with buses and metro. I mean, it is almost like a dreamland. But if I want to have a beer, and you know, I come from Norway. Norway is considered one of the most expensive countries in the world. But Singapore, the beer in Singapore matches the Norwegian price almost. Half a liter of beer in a simple eatery, not a nice posh place, just a simple eatery in what we call that, Little India. It was like eight, maybe seven US dollars for a bottle of not some posh beer, just the cheapest they had. It was like $7 or $8. Yeah, I think $8. Wow. So that is Singapore, you know. And the thing is, would you like really to live in that kind of place? I mean, it's cool to visit there, and if you have a lot of money, you can stay there. But uh, you just cross the bridge over to, which I have done. You cross the bridge over to. I've been traveling quite a lot in Malaysia, and so there are these two big bridges going between Singapore and the mainland, and there you come to what they call Baru. Yeah, anyway, there is a big city just across the bridge from. I was there a couple of days visiting some guy I was acquainted with via uh, JB, they call it. Uh, yeah, JB. That is just something. Johor, Baru, whatever. And that place is, the prices are very different, and you know, it's the people are very. I mean, in Singapore, of course, people may be polite if you get to know them, but basically they will be very busy. They will go around in their tie and white shirts, you know, office guys or whatever they are doing there. So you basically don't communicate very much with people in Singapore. But when you come over to Malaysia, it's a much more relaxed situation. Of course, there is a little bit more, some slightly damaged buildings, maybe a little bit garbage in some areas, and some areas might even be dangerous. But I would say I'm much more at ease in Malaysia, for example, and Kuala Lumpur. Wow, Kuala Lumpur is an amazing place, but much cheaper. I traveled from Singapore up to Kuala Lumpur with bus. And when I came to Kuala Lumpur, oh my God, my goodness, that is so nice. The prices for a meal, I mean, night is so affordable in Kuala Lumpur compared to Singapore. Now, the Philippines, they say, is the most expensive country in this part of the world. Most expensive. And maybe it's true because this is a island nation, and but Indonesia is very close, and Indonesia is much cheaper. So there is a lot of taxation in this country, and of course, since you have to import basically everything, and you have a big ship, you're gonna go to a port, and there you have the maybe always not so honest. Uh, I mean, there is legal uh, taxes you have to pay, which make everything more expensive. And then you also have a lot of corruption in the system. So somebody will maybe blackmail some businesses to pay more, and all kind of things are going on. So this is a high cost country, and the sad thing is, even the poor people with low income have to pay income tax. In Thailand, they have this rule that if you earn less than, I think it was 400,000 baht, because a friend of mine, he for many years. He was a taxi driver, and I asked him about the tax system, and he said, "I don't pay income tax. If you are like a middle class person in Thailand, you don't pay income tax." But then I had a friend who was a doctor, and he paid a lot of income tax. So he was very furious about it because he said they give a lot of freebies to the poor, and then we who have, I mean, he studied in Japan, he studied in the United States, and you can imagine he put a lot of effort into being a professional doctor, and then he's gonna pay like I think 45% tax, and he hires some nurse for his little clinic, and they have to pay a lot of tax also. In the Philippines, everything is, but of course, fish. They have a lot of both wild catch fish and also farming here. And so, because the people here have quite low income, they you cannot charge them whatever you want. Most people here they are struggling if the price of rice or of pork meat goes up just a little bit, or the gasoline or diesel goes up just a little bit. They are struggling. So most people here they are living on very small margins. They cannot really save anything, you know? And credit is very expensive here. So like this month, because somebody back in Norway decided to take 60% of my pension, uh, I'm out of money, and we had like $1 to live on for 10 days. $1 to live on for 10 days. That is my situation, and of course I get very depressed about that. And then I said, okay, we just need to have some money, you know. I'm not very good at making budget, but also what happens is that we are trying to make a business here with a pizzeria. So I have to invest in knives and chalkboards, you know, this and that, cardboards for the pizza, for delivery, many things. And of course, in the beginning there is no gain because we put the prices very low. So we're actually losing money, and I give out for free some pizza, or I sell them for half the price, just so that people will get a taste of it. And this is working. So step by step, I hope we will be able to have income from this. But and this is the thing here in the Philippines. There are many people who are like below the radar, so to speak. They are street vendors. People here are going from door to door, shouting out like they have fish, or they're selling some vegetables, or they're selling some sweet bread, coconut stuff, all kind of stuff. They are going around here and shouting and oh, and standing outside your gate, and you will go there and you will buy things from them. People selling sunglasses or grapes on the sidewalk or the street. These street vendors, maybe they all just find a place, you know, outside somewhere. They put their stuff there, and these guys they don't pay tax, of course not. Uh, so you can do your little thing here until a certain limit, but then you have to have approval for this, approval for that. You have to have certificate for this, certificate for that. Very regulated, complicated system. And if you want to have a job here, you have to have all kind of requirements, and many people don't have those things. Like the parents of my wife, uh, they don't know how to read or write. They come from the mountain there in the province, and when that the mother of my wife, she gave birth. I think she has, I think she has 7 or 8 kids. She gave birth to all of them in the house in the mountain, and most of them were born when the husband was away, and there was nobody to help her. She gave birth all by herself. So when the husband came home, the baby was already out. You can imagine. So of course there is no document, there is no birth certificate, nothing, nothing. So and they didn't baptize in the church. They didn't baptize them, or maybe later. But you know, And people thought there was just a chapel there. There was no chapelaine. There was a chapel lady. She's saying Ave Maria from time to time there, and because I am the neighbor of the chapel, so I know what's going on there. So anyway, when people get married, they don't go to a Catholic church. The church is going to ask them a lot of money for their services, and they don't go with all this bureaucracy. They just move together, make a baby, and that's the husband and wife. It's a common law of marriage, as we would say. So, but when these people want to get a job or get into school, they need documents. So my wife's birth certificate, on her birth certificate, they had to put up a married couple, which of course they are not her parents, because her parents married. I mean, in the modern legal jurisdiction, or whatever you say in English. So they don't have any marriage certificate, and they were told that your daughter cannot enter the school if she doesn't have legal parents. She's an illegitimate child. Her parents are not legally married. It's crazy, huh? So they had to fake a birth certificate where she put up some relatives that were legally married. So they are supposedly her parents. And so many complications, it's just keeping people poor. They cannot get a job, and if they get a job, the salary is usually very, very basic, and the working hours are so long. uh, but the like in Norway, I come from Norway, okay, and we have some of the most, I mean, the highest salaries in the world. But when maybe 75 to 95% of your income per month goes back to the government in the form of income tax and VAT, tax on car, tax on gasoline, tax on tobacco, tax on alcohol, very high taxes on tobacco and alcohol, and on cars, etc. So basically, even if you, that's why we demand always higher salary, because the cost of, see. Uh, so, but at least in Norway, the money is not disappearing into some corrupt politicians' luxury home or yacht or nice cars and all that kind of stuff, which you see here in the Philippines. Uh, so in Norway, at least, the society is even if we are taxed to death, we are suffocating on taxes. But still, at least we can put a decent bread and butter and egg and maybe some pork meat or some lamb on the table, some fish. The thing is that in Norway, because it's very usually the food is not fresh, it's frozen. The meat is frozen. But you can actually get pork chops, very lovely, like smoked pork chops. We call them sommerkoteletter, we call them in Norway. When I was back in Norway last time, it's almost 2 years ago, I saw those for 20 kroner, 20, less than 20 kroner. Rema 1000, Rema 1000 is one of the cheaper chain food supermarket chains in Norway. So 20 kroner per kilo for very lovely pork chops. How much is that? Let me see. That is like $2.02 per kilo. In Filipino pesos, let me see. That would be like 110 pesos. And if you want to buy similar product there, you have to pay probably 180 pesos per kilo. Lamb meat in Norway, if you now in every autumn, and this time they are slaughtering hundreds of thousands of lamb and some many sheep also, and they cannot even sell it. And you can buy, I mean, it's crazy. I love that stuff in Norway. You buy frozen lamb meat, and it is fresh. It's not from last year. It's just maybe 2 weeks old or something like that. You can get that for I don't even, I mean it's crazy cheap, man. And the fish, wow, and the crabs, yeah. And in Norway, you can get a sofa for free, a bed for free, a bicycle for free, a TV for free, ref for free, washing machine. Probably you have to pay a little bit, but just very minor. Uh, I'm talking about old stuff, but it's the quality products, so you can use them for many years. The guy thing is that some people they buy a new house, or they're gonna move to another part of the country, and it's extremely expensive in Norway to hire a company to move your stuff from one city to another. So it's better just give it away, you know. And then when you come to your new place, you buy new furniture there. So, for example, furniture-wise, we have IKEA. IKEA is the largest furniture producer in the world, and they will come soon to Manila and build one of the biggest warehouses in the world will be in Manila. But as of now, they have a small outlet in Manila, but we are far away from there. And what they have there is quite expensive stuff. So the thing is that when you want to buy some furniture here, you're gonna pay a lot of money for it. So there were no beds in this house, and a bed is for me because I've been living on like $700-800 for several years. Say $700-800 per month, and you know it's not very cool. Um, so I didn't have a bed for a long time, for a very long time, and then 1 year ago, maybe last September 2019, I built my own bed. So I'm not a carpenter. By no means, I have no idea. I didn't know how to do it, but I just did it, and the bed is still working. It's a queen size bed, and then I just had some very little foam on it. That was terrible, actually. But at least we got out off from the floor, and so we could put some stuff under the bed, so we have space. And this June, last June, I get some money from my mother because my birthday is in June. So then I was able to buy a nice thick uh, mattress with coils inside. You know, turning down. So our little boy, he loves to jump up and down on that one. So you know, step by step, life is what it is. It is very expensive to rent a place that is fully furnished here in the Philippines. But if you can afford it, if you're coming here, that might be a solution. But you must be aware that they will ask you to make a 12-year contract. I mean 12 months, 1 year contract, and they will might ask you to pay up 3 months plus 1 month in deposit, 3 months ahead and stuff. So you need quite a lot of money to establish yourself, and you don't know. When you come here, maybe you came here for a girl, and then that girl, she turns out, as they usually do, to be a fake or a scammer uh, who doesn't want you. She just wants your money, and if you don't have enough of it, if you don't obey for every whim and whatever, yeah, you're gonna break up, right? And so, you find another girl. She's from another place. Now you have 12 months rental. And if you want to stay, you can stay like me. I have been staying in very, very cheap, very low standard empty rooms with no shower, and the toilet is just bullshit. Uh, but you put your human stuff there, and not the bullshit. So I have been living in really simple places because I didn't have any option at the time. And many of you guys maybe are in the same situation like me. You are ripped off by your ex-wife or by other reasons. You don't have a lot to live on. And people would mock you and say, why do you come to the Philippines? Well, at least here, the sun is shining, the beaches are nice, and the girls are, many of them are very, very nice. And they are very attractive to us as uh, white guys. If you are white like me with blue eyes, you are very, very unique in this part of the world. God made me this way. I got it from my mama. I got it from my mama. Check it out. And from my papa, of course. So there's nothing I can do about it. But when you are in your country and if you have a small amount of money and it's cold and dark and rainy and nobody's smiling at you, nobody's talking to you, maybe you just wanna end your life, kill yourself. Yeah. Uh, so coming here, it can be challenging. We have lost. Yesterday, I was attacked by red ants when I was out in the street saying goodbye to our guests that were leaving back to the village. And my feet got really, it hurt so much, and I got all kind of like growing. I don't know what to say in English, but it's like swollen. Crazy. And yesterday also, I was in our bedroom with our little boy. He was staying on the mattress on the floor, and I was sitting there on the bed, using my tablet to watch something on YouTube. And suddenly there was a huge spider coming from under the bed and running straight towards the face of my little boy. And I take that tablet which has a cover and I smash the spider with, and it's a huge spider. Wow! Why was he charging from my boy's head? You know, and we have of course big cockroaches which are fly, and they sometimes they fly bang straight in my head. They want to attack me. So what is going on with these crazy cockroaches? And ants are everywhere. Mosquitoes are everywhere. Roosters are everywhere. When I tried to make this program, the rooster, I have two of them just around the corner here. I had to put him in a box because I cannot make the video because he's having a verbal fight with some rooster in the neighborhood. So I really had to put him in a carton in a box just to keep him quiet so I could make this video. Um, but I think the thing is, what is if you are depressed and lonely in your country and you come here to the Philippines, like me, I was really depressed, really suicidal, and because I have been so depressed for so many years since my wife kicked me out and took my five kids and I have not seen them since 2005. She stole everything. She told a lot of rubbish about me. So I just isolated myself. Before I was very active at the church. I had so many friends and never had problems with depression or anything. But things happen in life, and so me, I if I go out, I basically just want to sit in a room. I don't want to interact with other people because I have depressed. But when you are here in the Philippines as a white guy, but even as a Filipino, they always interact with each other. If you're traveling on the bus, the guy next to you will usually, if they speak English, they will talk to you. And I mean, you cannot avoid interaction with people here. And in one way, I mean, it's amazing because we need to interact with each other. So, and this is the big problem now with this COVID scam. It is a scam, believe me, it is a scam. It's totally unnecessary to lock down all these activities and call for social distancing. Stay in your house. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Did I ever give the government of Norway or the Philippines, did the Filipinos give their governments the right to tell them, you have to lock down, stay in your house, you cannot go out at this and this time? We are free people. We are free people. If I want to drink my beer, I drink my beer. If I want to go and say hi to my neighbor, I say hi to my neighbor. Jesus said that we should gather. Do not stay away from the gathering of the assembly of the saints, the saints, that is the believer. So you they banned all religious and social activities for something that actually don't kill anybody. It's crazy. And this is the problem here with the Philippines because the government here, they are really like acting like they own you. And the people here are so brainwashed from they were children through the radio school system, all these things. They are brainwashed, so they are not really rebellious. Uh, of course, the Bible says you should obey the government, but the government is given specific tasks according to the Bible. And the government is not tasked to give you a marriage certificate or a birth certificate. They are not tasked to do that. No, no. They are not uh, tasked to tell you in school to brainwash you and teach you that you are just a well-developed monkey. They are not taught from the Bible to control every aspect of your life. No. So, but they have a gun, you know. They have a gun and they will throw you in jail for any reason. I know. I've been to jail a couple of times, so I know. uh, but we need to stop fearing. Jesus said, "If you, why do you fear people? They can only kill your body, but not do anything more." I tell you who you should fear. You should fear God because He can kill your body. He is allowed to do it. And after that, He can throw you in hell. Okay, so that's the one you need to fear. Also, the Bible says that those that fear, love has not been perfected. And it says that the devil keeps people in bondage because of their fear of death. And this is what this whole thing is about. When these rumors came from China, and you see, I think it was just an act. China put up an act, falling down on the street, and they had to drag them into hospitals where they were locked in. They had to build up extra hospitals because they could not take care of all the victims. They would weld people inside their apartments so they would not go out and spread this terrible virus. Of course, all this it scared it scared the shit out of the world. So we were prepared mentally that okay, if we don't take strong measures, we're all gonna die. So what? You're gonna give away your freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, because the TV says so, and then because the government says so. That kind of government should be ousted, and I'm sure this will happen. I'm sure this kind of behavior, not only in the Philippines, I'm talking about worldwide, is gotta be a revolution. Because this kind of people, they don't deserve that position in which they are. They need to be ousted, really. They have no right to tell you to stay home if you are not a small baby, that is, that cannot be allowed to go out on your own. They cannot tell you that you're not allowed to visit your dying mother or father, but they do. They tell you that oh, you cannot sit and have a drink on the sidewalk, a beer in a restaurant or whatever. What is this? Huh? It's totally inhumane. And when people realize that this is all a scam, that there are not hundreds of millions of people who have died because of this virus, and people don't even know what a virus is. A virus is not alive. It's not a living thing. It's not like a lion waiting and around the corner. You're walking there, and then suddenly the virus attacks you, and it eats you up. You don't know anything about viruses, do you? Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. God bless and have a good day, whether you are in the Philippines or somewhere else.